Hey, Nation, back with a longtime friend of the family and member of SMB Nation, Lisa Shore out of Providence, Rhode Island. How you doing, Lisa?
Hey there, so good. Thanks for having me today.
All
I
right. Well,
love it.
hey, out of respect, because I know we're going to talk about this. You're all about dress for success, amongst other things. So I actually
Mhm.
put a collared shirt on and buttoned up the first
Oh,
button out of respect.
well, I appreciate that. I'm glad that I invoke that in you, and it's a professionalism, right? I mean, anything with a collar, FYI, on the side note of the class, but it's anything with a collar as professionalism. So,
Yep. Well, hey, you've created a system, a six-course online curriculum. Go
mhm.
talk to us. What's going on?
So this course came about because my MSP, Secure Future Tech Solutions, was struggling, Harry. And you've known us for a very long time. We're going to be celebrating in 2022 30 years.
Wow.
And yes, 30 years. Can you imagine? I'm only 31. So, I was very smart when I started. So we went through a period, Harry, of just despair. We were losing clients and didn't understand why. We had the worst part is we had very low profitability and we couldn't grow it. And we were stuck for 5 years. And I don't want other MSPs to wait 5 more years to be stuck. And what we realized is that we weren't paying attention to our internal culture. We weren't paying attention to the way that we were being perceived by others.
Yep.
We've always been tech savvy, but when a client fires you, and the icing on the cake was every time I call, you act as if you have no idea who I am. That was so painful and such a wake up call for us that I was like, oh my gosh, we've been so focused on the tech skills for so many years that we didn't even realize. I'm a marketer, so but my marketing was always let's get a press release done, let's
Yeah,
do a
I
mail in,
remember.
let's
Yeah,
do
I went to your site. Yeah, and you're a
yep.
good one.
So, well, thank you so much. I appreciate that as a marketer. And so, but I realized is I needed to take a step back and look at the way that each member of our team's personal brand was being perceived. I had to look at how we communicated with each other. So things like our tone of voice and the words that we were saying, how could we make people feel that we cared? We were lacking, and we thought we had it, but we were really lacking an emphasis on empathy. We always were reactionary. So, we customer service wise, we've always, we resolve tickets, we answer the phones. But what we really needed to talk about was that client experience.
Yeah.
So that's when we had a script and we started working on a procedure for our phone skills. We made sure we had a dress code all the time in our office. We talked about things like, well, what should your voice sound like when you need to show someone that you hear them and you care, that they're getting that they can't open a particular app and they're frustrated. Well, they don't want to hear a happy voice. They want to hear, okay, let me get that ticket in the system and let me call you. I'll have an engineer call you within an hour. I know how frustrated you feel. That's a whole shift in the way that we say things. Once I did all of that and I started implementing all these changes in my own MSP, I realized there's a lot of other MSPs out there in the same boat. So I took all of the years of trials and tribulations and put it into it's a 6-week online class, but it's really, because it's now on demand online as well, it's a 6 module class.
Correct.
And yep. And so I've taken everything. So module 1 starts with mindset, and it's the way that we think. It's having that attitude of, I know I need more than tech skills to survive. I know I need to think about okay, I have to have a difficult conversation with an employee. Let me have it right now. Let me not brush it under the rug. Let's talk about how I should say it, our demeanor. I talk about, I put together what's called my brand method. So it's an
Yep.
acronym so week 2 is B is for behavior. And I hone in on emotional intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
And that's our ability to connect with others, but really to manage our emotions when we respond. So it's very hard, I should say it's very easy to be reactionary all the time. But a leader, and when I say leader, Harry, I mean everybody in the organization is actually a leader, not just the founder or CEO of the MSP. It's everybody has to take ownership for their own behavior and their own reaction to different situations. So we talk about that in behavior. R is respect. And we talk about respecting not only everyone else, everyone has a different upbringing. You and I are different parts of the country, so many different, scenarios that you and I could even talk about, but
Mm-hmm.
also respecting ourselves internally. Are we drinking water? Are we, taking care, exercising, eating right, getting some sleep? It's really important. I have a breathing exercise that I teach everybody so that we can self-soothe ourselves. A is appearance. And so that's where those collars come in. And I talk about logo shirts and we talk about grooming and posture, by the way. So I thought about before I got on the call today, where was I going to be on the screen? We're doing a lot of virtual now. Where am I positioned? What am I wearing? How do I want others to perceive me? That's really important. Is perception is reality. N is all about networking. And I do 2 forms of networking on the sales and business development side with, I call them QBRs, but other people call them technical business review meetings, quarterly business review
Yep.
meetings, whatever you call them, meeting with your clients, as well as going to chamber events and networking events. We talk about that. But there's one piece that a lot of MSPs don't pay enough attention to that we did. And once we did, there was a huge turnaround. And that's our engineers, our on-site engineers have this massive opportunity while they're on site to plant seeds. So they're the day-to-day engineer. And they have a really cool opportunity to make suggestions and recommendations to our clients. When they see sales coming, they're like, what are you trying to sell me now? But the engineer's there day to day. And
Mm-hmm.
if you have an engineer that's polished, that has a wonderful relationship with your client, then they're much more apt to listen to to recommendations of upgrades. An example is we worked with a school and private school, and they got all new Macs, but they kept their old printers. And this is a very basic example, but the printers just weren't compatible. And we kept going in and fixing and fixing and fixing whatever we did. What the reality was, so when we talked about this in a staff meeting, like this is not a good usage of time, go back to the client who happens to be the buyer and say, I've noticed that, or I see that we keep coming back, and I'm concerned that it's not going to be a permanent fix, and it's one day it's going to crash and they're just not compatible. Can I have Eric, who happens to do the majority of our sales in our company on our MSP, come see you and talk to you about new printers? Absolutely. Have Eric give me a call. So if my engineer wasn't trustworthy, didn't have a good relationship, and didn't present it in a way that was concerned for the well-being of our client, then none of that would work. But so I
Yep.
talk about that, building that brand and building that credibility with our clients. And that's why I call this class Confidence plus Credibility equals Cash. And the last piece is your dynamic dialogue, which is your voice. And almost everyone every MSP that I work with, because my target audience for sure success are MSPs, almost everyone I work with, the first thing they say to me is, I want my text to sound more confident. I'm tired of getting phone calls from clients saying, I don't trust what your engineer is saying, or don't send him back, or does he really know what he's talking, or she know what they're talking about? So I hone in on, what does a leader sound like? What does the CEO sound like? What does a salesperson need to sound like? And what does an engineer who's working with a client need to sound like? Not just getting the words out, but we talk about geek speak, and too many acronyms in our industry. Oh, right? You got your DNS and you got your people don't even know what MSP stands for. So
I know,
it's
I
like,
know. Don't get me going.
yes. So we could talk about that too. So that's the class. In It's 6 modules I put together for everybody. There's 42 videos, 8 hours of content.
Yeah, wow.
So yeah.
No,
Yeah.
congratulations. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll get you back next quarter. And I think what would be cool is if you have, and I'll make a side note, but some tales from the trenches. Maybe you can
Yes.
talk about a specific MSP in Dallas, Texas that did this, this, and this, took your
Yeah.
course, and they went on and are driving more
Love it.
success. All right. Thanks, Lisa.
Absolutely. Hey, thanks so much, Harry.